All right, now that you've mastered the basic trim, let's talk about a little more advanced trim that I like to do. If you're interested in trying burn ends, this would be a great way to do that. A reason that I started doing this more advanced trim is, over the last 10 years I've cooked a lot of briskets, and there was a time when I was doing a basic trim that I was always a little frustrated with the quality of the point that I was getting when I was done. It was kind of stringy, not all the fat was rendered, and so I started experimenting with different trims, and this is what I came up with, and this is what I like to do if I'm cooking 1 or 2 briskets for my family, and specifically if I'm wanting to do burn ends. So what I'm going to do, so we've done a basic trim, it's all pretty well cleaned up. Now that this is the most difficult part of it, the most difficult part is going to be separating the point from the flat while still leaving fat on the backside of the flat. What we'll do to get started though is we're going to flip it over and we're going to kind of look, if you look right here, you can see it, that fat vein that goes between the flat and the point, it stops about right here. So that's about where the point comes underneath the flat and stops. So I'm going to look at both sides, kind of get an idea of where that's at. So we're going to say, and you can see the point actually comes down to here. So you can see we're going to go 2 or 3 inches in front of where they connect, and I'm just going to mark it with my knife, score it, and then I'm going to remove all the fat cap from the back side of the point here. And the reason I'm going to do that is as part of this trim, I really want to encourage the rendering of the fat in the point. So I want to remove any unnecessary fat or even weight of that brisket to where it will cook a little quicker and help render the fat out of the back of or throughout the point. And that's where you're going to get more tender and properly rendered point. And so, like I said, I'm just going to trim most of the fat off the point here. And so it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to get most of it. This is anytime you're trimming any meat, if you keep it cold, so if it comes directly from the fridge, it's significantly easier to trim. And this is still pretty cold, and so some of this fat on the back of the point can be kind of jello-like, and it's a little harder to trim. We're getting it though. All right, something similar to this is sufficient. I'll hold it up so you can see it a little better. And actually, we'll take one more little piece off here. All right, so that's about what you're looking for in the back of the point. Now we're going to flip it over, and this is probably the most difficult and intimidating part of this trim. What you're wanting to do, I always say, if I'm going to err on the side of cutting into the point, because you want to maintain your flat, because that's the best part of the brisket in my opinion. And so and this is much leaner than the point, and so if you cut into that, you really want to ensure that you leave the fat on the back of the flat to keep the moisture in the leaner part of the muscle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just trying to keep my knife behind this. I'm just going to follow this fat vein down here. If you can see, my knife is beneath that fat vein. Let's see. And I'm going to run my knife. Let's see. Well, just run my knife kind of on the underside of that fat vein. And I just go nice and slow. And it's not that difficult if you'll just make slow, deliberate cuts like that. Now what I've done is I've removed the fat. At the same time, I've removed the fat from the top of the point for the most part. And so that enables me to season that and get more seasoning on there for the burnt ends. I'm going to cut a little bit of fat out of here. Okay, so now all I need to do, I'm pretty much done with that, but sometimes you'll see that this gets, well, I can remove this section of fat here now. This is what's left of that decal. And then I'm just looking for, it can be much thicker on this side than the other, and so I just want to make it similar in thickness. Just take a little bit of that meat and fat off and then what you're going to get is a brisket that lays a lot flatter than before. And I can just remove a little bit more there. But now that's what I consider a more advanced trim on a brisket. It's going to enable the point. Now we've exposed the point, and so now this is all. You've cut a lot of fat off, and you're going to make it render the inner muscle fat a lot more effectively and efficiently. And the flat is going to still has the protection of that layer of fat on the back of it, so it's going to stay nice and moist. So now it's ready to be seasoned and put on the smoker.